the main point of this video is not to say that Densha de Go is not a good simulator, but it's to help you guys understand the differences between an arcade game simulator and an actual simulator. So let's get into it. But before I get into it, I am a student. I am not an employee. Just to let you guys know. The actual simulator that we have is based on Tokyu Oimachi Line. So this is a Tokyu Oimachi Line train. And to be more exact, it is a replica of it for educational purposes. Okay, I'm doing this video unscripted as usual, so I don't really know where to begin. But I think I'll start off with saying 電車で GO 劇場機械は鉄道運転免許証を取った人にとってもむずいと思っています。劇場シミュレーターの方が100% 本物に基づくことではありません。なんでいわゆるそういうアーケードシミュレーターが一般の人向けなので、電車を運転する楽しみとか、そちらがメインとして、実際の運転作業ではやらないことが多いんです。劇場シミュレーターにある下の操作画面にものがいっぱいなので、なかなか集中できないと思います。Okay, so now how do I say that in English? Basically, the arcade simulator machines, they focus more on the aspect of getting people of all ages, like typically from age 6 and above, getting them interested in trains rather than providing people an accurate simulation of train driving in general. So it emphasizes more on the fun aspect by including all those elements of like arcade game machines and stuff like that, as opposed to it being like a proper simulator, is how I would say it. So a while ago, I uploaded a shot of me filming with my right hand and driving a train with my left hand. Obviously, you don't do this in real life, but since there is no like extra cameraman or anything, I just do it myself. Just want to show you guys things. So the arcade game machines, the simulator's lever is actually a lot smaller than the actual lever that's actually being used on the Tokyo simulator. So as you guys know, to accelerate for the arcade game version, you have to press and then pull the lever towards you. Whereas on the actual simulator, you can see that the area that you press is actually behind. So same thing. You press down and pull the lever towards you to accelerate. And likewise, you pull the lever away from you. Okay, more of like push the lever away from you to decelerate. So for the actual simulator, your hands have to be on the lever at all times when the train is in motion. If you let go, as a safety feature, according to this simulator, the train will actually e-brake, like it'll actually perform an emergency brake, like automatically in this case. And when the train is idling, like let's say at the station, in the arcade machines, I believe they tell you to put the lever at the B4 position. Whereas for this machine, I'm not entirely sure, but you could put it at B4, B5, B6 as well. So the number just means how strong or weak the brake or the acceleration is. And then you might be asking, like, why do we actually have to, push it or press it? Like, why do we have to press? And that is actually a safety feature. I'm not entirely sure about this, but in GOA2, which means Grade of Automation Level 2, for the I think it's called like if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, please. It's called automatic train operation, which means there is still a driver, but it's automated based on like the signaling system. So this one is GOA2. And then for GOA3, again, correct me if I'm wrong, it's something like driverless train operation. I could be mixing up the terms because I'm not entirely familiar with this, because again, I'm a student. I am not somebody working in an industry. I'm still a student at this point in time. GOA3, if I'm not mistaken, none of Japan's railway lines are GOA3 yet. There is Yamanote line, which is GOA2, and then there's also a few more one-man lines as well. But I genuinely have never heard of a GOA3 line in Japan, or at least in Tokyo, at this point in time. So this one is more of like driverless train operation, and it's not exactly driverless per se. The driverless just refers to the fact that usually everything will be taken care of automatically. Like you don't need a driver to press the buttons, you don't need a driver to pull the lever to actually drive the train or what. So that's what driverless, if I'm not mistaken, actually means. Like you probably still have a person that is like manning, overseeing the train like a rover, but actually no, rover is more of like for GOA level 4. But you still have somebody that's like overseeing the process of it. You can think of it as like driverless buses. There is still somebody behind the wheel, not really wheel, but for vehicles, not really behind the wheel, but you get what I mean. There is still somebody that's like overseeing operations. It's just that normally they don't really have to touch any of the controls. But the reason why I'm even explaining all of this is because usually the way you spot a train line that is GOA2 is that the train driver doesn't actually like pull the lever or anything. There is usually like two buttons over here, and then some are buttons to open and close the doors, and then buttons to depart, like 出発進行 basically. So to depart, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but instead of pressing just one button, you actually have to like press two buttons. Like you have to press both. And this is designed, it's intended as a safety feature. They want to make sure that like whoever's operating the train is mentally stable, is sound, has a clear mind, whatever you call it. So yeah, this is kind of like a safety feature. Like you actually have to press and pull. You cannot just pull and push the lever. You actually have to press and pull. Because to put it simply, imagine you don't have these safety mechanisms. I don't know, let's say something happens and then you happen to accidentally like elbow the lever or knock onto the lever, and then the train comes to like a screeching halt because of it, or you accelerate when you didn't mean to accelerate. So yeah, stuff like this can happen. And hopefully it doesn't happen. Otherwise, everybody's lives would be at stake. I mean, according to this simulator anyway, once you let go, the train would just automatically e-brake anyway. So yes, when the machines are on, there would usually be like the speedometer, and then there would be like, it'll show all the train cars. Like in this case, it's 5 cars, and whether the doors have been closed. And then they also show the type of service. Is it Kyuko? Is it Kakeki Teisha? Or something like that. So yeah. But when you actually try out both simulators, you would realize that the arcade simulator actually kind of like prompts you to look in front and kind of like over focus on the touch screen below, which you usually don't do, because usually you focus on what's in front. I mean, anybody who has played Denja de Go would understand what I'm talking about. Whereas for this actual simulator, most of the time you would be looking in front, and the only times where you actually look below is when you need to check whether you are adhering to the speed limit and stuff like that. Taking a look at the ATS and stuff like that. So in short, the actual simulators are more practical. So now we move on to the actual controls. Near the driver's cabin's door. So this one, hijo breki, which means the emergency brake. So yes, the conductor can also perform an emergency brake, and it's not just the driver. So if the conductor sees something amiss, they could do it as well. So this is done by pulling the lever down. You see this thing over here? That's a lever. You pull it down. And then over here is a grab hole for safety. I know some instructors, they would tell you to like, grab onto this. I don't really understand why, but like I don't really understand the rationale behind this, but if you use too much force, like if you need to grab onto it, but if you use too much force and accidentally like pull it down, the train will just e-brake. So this is why I prefer the grab pole instead of like actually, holding on to this lever. But I think it's just a matter of habit. Okay, now moving on to the closing and opening of doors. So according to the Tokyo Oimachi Line simulator, to open the train doors, you have to twist this counterclockwise and you have to push it up. So that's to open the doors. And then to close the doors, like this thing would actually be here, and then you would have to just simply push it down. So again, to open, it's you twist the lever and you push it up, and to close, you push it down. And if you're wondering what this is actually a bell to alert the driver that, hey, we are ready to depart. Now this thing actually varies between operator and train line. So not every single line has a bell per se. And then if it's like one man operations, obviously they don't need to sound the bell. And then this button, we haven't really been taught to use it yet, but over here it writes, if I'm not mistaken, it's Sai Kai Hei Switch. It kind of means like open and close the doors again, but we haven't learned this yet. So this simulator has a driver mode and a conductor mode. And the conductor mode is actually based on, again, Tokyo Oimachi Line. And I'm not sure which exact section it actually plays during conductor mode. But basically, we don't just train, like conductor, right? We don't just train for Tokyo lines. We also train like KO line on this simulator as well. Because we're just speaking and we're just like learning how to open and close the doors, and we also learn how to respond whenever kakekomi josha happens, or we also learn how to like respond to emergencies and stuff like that. Or if the doors cannot close properly, like how do we reset it and stuff like that. We learn all these stuff. And we don't learn it every single day of the week, but it's usually once per week. Now, for my class, we only do it at next year, like year 2. And then for the other class, we do it at year 1. It's based on our electives. But yeah, we don't do it every day. And the days that we aren't really training, we study local and international geography. Unfortunately, I cannot show these like what's inside. You can see a prefecture, the outline of a prefecture, but unfortunately I cannot show you what's inside because it's copyrighted. So yeah, it's a railway slash tourism course. Like they teach both, and then some people even go on to do like they go on to intern at hotels as well. So there's that. So yeah, we don't train every single day. We have other lessons as well. We have like fare calculation and stuff like that. Okay, where was I? Okay, for conductor mode, we can practice basically any train line, but usually we do private railways. And the reason why is because private railways usually have more types of service. They call it 区别字, like is it local, rapid, express, limited express, commuter express, or whatever. And then we do practice like limited express, special express, like we practice local as well. And the things that we say are different. Typically, the skip stop ones are much simpler to handle as compared to the local ones. Like the fastest ones are actually the easiest to remember because we just have to remember, like we just have to announce, hey, the next station is what, and then this train will not call at the in-between stations. It will only call at whichever the next stop is. It's much easier to remember this than the local lines where you have to announce every single connecting train. Not connecting train line or branch line, but literally every single connecting train to the best of your ability. It's like you have to tell them which train will reach a certain point along the line faster and what that train will be able to connect to, stuff like that. It's like you have to handle local, limited express, and local. It's a lot to remember. Much easier than when you're practicing for like limited express where you just have to remember, like, I mean, you do have a map, but like you only have to remember what to say. Okay, in terms of like what you have to say, you only have to remember like which stops are skipped, which stops are called. It's much easier for the faster train services. For the slower ones, it's actually way more complicated. In particular, KO, there is at Chofu Station, you have to announce, please transfer for the KO Sagamihara line. I mean, in Japanese, of course. And then you also have to like explain to them, hey, you can connect to like Rapid, bound for Motoyawata, and then there's also like bound for Shinjuku and stuff like that. So yeah, a lot more difficult than you would expect. Once you actually stand there and practice, yeah, it's tough. When you actually how to say, when you actually spectate, if you are just like a bystander or a spectator, you would think it's easy, but when you actually stand there and you actually have to recite this or that, it's not easy. So even though I don't really have these lessons as of now, but my extracurricular activities, we actually touch a little bit on this. So yeah, I get exposure as well. It's just because my elective focuses more on being a station attendant as opposed to, like those train pushers, Tozai line, Chiyoda line, those. So yeah, we focus more on that for now, as based on what our elective focuses on, as compared to like the conductor work and the driving simulate the driving simulator classes. But then I think a heavier emphasis is on conductor as opposed to like driving simulator, because I feel it's easier to master driving the train as opposed to like knowing what to actually say, because you don't actually just have to remember what to say during like when everything is normal. During emergencies, you need to know, or like if there's a delay, hey, why did this train stop? You actually have to say those as well, and you have to memorize a lot of it, and then there's a lot of like keigo involved. So yeah, that's it for conductor mode. And then driving mode is basically what I have just explained. Let's see. Okay, so now this one is basically the control panel. This is the control panel that the instructors or teachers would, I mean, they are the ones that would be, they are the ones operating the, it's a touch screen, by the way. Sorry, I cannot speak. So yeah, so this is 運転士 訓練, which means, yeah, you're training to become a train driver. So yeah, and then usually students are also allowed to press this as well. It's 再設定, which means, which is basically a reset button, and then this one is like 終了, which means to end the session. Oh, can you guys actually see properly? Okay. So now this one, it means how well you have stopped at a particular station. 定目誤差, which I think simply it translates to like, so this one means stop. Moku as in 目標, like what you target. And then this one, ayamaru, it means error. And then sa is basically like a measurement. So yeah, if you see that there's actually a negative sign, right, it's usually minus or plus. And usually we are told to like keep it to minus 3 meters or plus 3 meters. If you exceed it, it's considered overrun. And if you are way too far behind, it's called underrun. So we have to keep it. So yeah, according to the simulator, you have to keep it within 3 meters. So yes, the very first time I tried the simulator, I overshot by like 28 meters, and then one of my other classmates, they overshot by 35. But then we gradually learn like when to actually stop the train, like at a certain speed, what level of brake should we apply and stuff like that, like, or when to actually apply the brake. And it's not easy because we are usually told to stop at the markers. Like, let's say if it's a 5-car train, then there is 5, and then there's also a marker in front. There would also be a marker in front that shows 7, because Tokyo Oimachi line, as you know, there are 5-car trains and there are 7-car trains as well. So it's not exactly at the marker, but it's like you have to stop when you cross the marker. And then in Japanese they usually say like マークが見えなくなる, but you can interpret it in like different ways. Honestly, I need to find out a little bit more because I still don't really know where exactly to stop, but it's basically slightly ahead of the marker. And then there's also a white line as well. I believe it's with respect to the white line, or maybe slightly in front of it. I'll have to confirm again because I suck at driving for now. But I mean, it's normal. Everybody would suck at driving when they just tried the simulator for the first day. And there are people that actually manage to get it to like 0.15 meters or stuff like that. Like basically 150 cm, if my math is correct, yeah. So yeah, that's what you would aim for. You aim for 0, and then your leeway is 3 meters. And if you don't keep it within 3 meters, it will be officially considered overrun or underrun according to the simulator. Then for, I don't know if it's 1 or 2 or how many of the Tokyo Oimachi line stations, some platforms are actually shorter than the train's actual length, so you would have to take that into consideration. But usually just focus on where the markers are. And then yes, another difference is that for the arcade machine, they actually tell you the speed limits in advance because it's a game. But for the actual simulators, you would actually hear it go like ding ding or ding, and then you have to adjust your speed accordingly, just like in real life. But obviously, in real life, there will be signs telling you the speed limit, and then signals as well. Is it a red signal, amber signal, green signal, or a flashing amber signal, meaning you can go but you have to slow down according to KQ. KQ as in Keihin Kyuko Railway Dentetsu. And then yes, again, this is the control panel. The student, when they're driving, they wouldn't actually the participant or off, they wouldn't actually see this screen. This is just the control panel that the instructor or teacher controls, obviously. But then this one is basically Seigen Sokudo, which means the speed limit, and Genzai Sokudo, which means your current speed. And then Masukon, what does Masukon mean? Does it mean like the acceleration or the brake power or something? I don't know what this is. And then the one thing about this simulator is actually okay, this is Joji Hasse or Ijo Ijo Jisho, which means this is like any abnormal things happening, and then this is like normal, which Joji means like itsumo dori, like, which means it's normal. And then this one Tenko, which means like weather. So obviously, when it's rainy, you would need to brake a lot sooner because there's less friction and stuff like that. Oh, there's snowy as well. I know snow is kind of rare in the Tokyo metropolitan area. So yeah, but there is snow, there is cloudy, there is sunny, and then there is rainy as well. So yeah, this is, you can set the weather. And then there is also ATC Kosho. Yeah, we haven't really touched on this yet. So yeah, but I think we would learn it eventually. And on the control panel, you can also see the speed limit. So it's 65 throughout. It's 70, 75. So yeah. And then there is this curve, which, can you guys even see this properly? I'm sorry if you can't. So the curve, okay, I'll just outline it. It's like this. So ideally, you want a smooth acceleration and a braking curve. Ideally, this is what you want to do. You don't really want to see a curve that's like full of, nah. You don't really want to see this. It means your driving is like abnormal and your commuters would be pissed off about it, obviously. Because imagine if the train is crowded, or even if it's not crowded, the train is like just swing front and back because you don't know how to control the train speed properly. So you don't want to get a graph that's like, like this. You want to get a graph that's like relatively smooth. And yes, this is the track layout. There's a crossover over here. And then Kasenjoka or something along those lines. I don't know what this is. Or is this like where the... I have no idea what this is. I'm sorry. And then these are the stations. This one has an island platform. This one's a side platform. And yeah. And then... okay, this station, they also have markers here. And then this station, they also have like markers here. I think they just determine like the zones, like the signaling zones or something along those lines. Anybody who has worked in railway or has some form of knowledge in this would know that, these zones exist. I know for like CBTC is different, but um, before CBTC, right? Yeah, we have all these like signaling zones per se. I forgot the actual term. I'm sorry, but yeah. And the other interesting thing is that yes, it's based on the actual Tokyo Oimachi line, the track layouts and everything. You can even have a train that like goes straight or crosses over, but I think it depends on like whether the instructor sets it to like express or local, but so far the trains have always been going straight. They haven't actually crossed over it yet. Again, based on my own experiences, cause uh, I'm still 1年生, like it's still like 2 months since like the start of school, so we haven't really gone deep into it. And it's also not my elective. I'm explaining what other electives are currently doing at this point in time. So yeah, so yes, my explanation is going to be choppy as well. But the interesting thing is that yeah, it is based on the actual train lines. But we don't actually use the actual station names. Like we take the actual station names. Like there is this station name along Tokyo Oimachi line called if I'm even writing it correctly, Todoroki, right? And then we would actually change it to something like Todoroki, I don't know, like Koen or something. Like basically we would put our own spin on these stations. And then the funniest one is basically Futako Tamagawa, it actually becomes like number 2 becomes number 3. The first kanji. So yeah, there's like stuff like this. And then Jiyugaoka, we changed it to like what? I don't know, Jiyu Keikoku or something along those lines. Just you can cook your own station names basically. But yeah, we don't use the actual station names. So again, my apologies. I didn't really explain this in detail. So over here, if you can see this yellow line where my cursor is hovering over, this thing over here is end gear, like neutral. So if we want to maintain a certain speed, we would put it like neutral. Even when you put it on neutral, sometimes the speed kind of like fluctuates a little bit, especially after you go over a curve. Actually, I need to confirm this. Like, does your speed actually stay constant when you put it in end gear? This is something that I have to confirm again. But yeah, there's neutral, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4. This is to accelerate. Oops, you guys cannot see. This is to accelerate, and then you push it away from you to brake. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there's also emergency brake as well. If you guys have played Densha to Go before, yes, you would know that. Yeah, the front like the one that's like the most away from you is actually the emergency brake. So this is why like when I try to brake, I usually the most I set it to is like B5 or at most B6. I don't even dare to like touch B7 unless I know I'm for sure going to overrun or something. But yeah, for obvious reasons, don't use the emergency brake because you would be penalized if you don't have a valid reason to use the emergency brake. So yeah. So yeah, this is basically me trying my best to explain stuff without messing up as a novice. I am not an expert, and I don't think I will ever be an expert, but you know, just trying to explain stuff because it also helps with my own understanding and just memory work as well. So yeah, I mean, I prefer this format. I just like speak my mind as opposed to like doing a structured video saying like, live as a railway car student. At 7:30 a.m., I wake up and go to school. I have breakfast. I go to school. I start my classes. And then I reach home. I do my revision. I have my dinner. I relax and I sleep and I prepare for the next. I feel that format is like way too overused, and I think people are way more interested in what you actually learn from school because I'm just explaining. I'm not like lifting from my notes or anything. I'm just like explaining what I have learned. That's all. With the help of pictures. So yeah, in my class, or even in the entire cohort, like I am the only native English speaker. Like I'm the only fluent one. So I usually have to be the one that's like doing the translation work wherever something needs to be translated. Like they will ask me, oh, is this the correct way to use this word in English or what? So whenever that pops up, I'm basically the translator for like everybody, like the teachers, the students. I'm the translator. Unofficially, not officially, because yes, we do have eigo kaiwa, which is just English conversation. So my classmates, right? Um, there is one person that's like slightly better than the rest, and he's able to construct like simple sentences as well. The rest of them, they are not able to like construct sentences yet, and most sentences there that are like less than 10 words, and everybody has like different capabilities when it comes to like vocabulary, like English vocabulary in general. Some are slightly better than the rest, but technically there's only one person that is there is like a noticeable difference between him and my other classmates. But yeah, usually I'm the one doing like the translation work. Otherwise, I wouldn't be making this video.